question that comes up for many of us is this all that there is? What else is there? We bring to you conversations from all over the world with people who make and create theatre.
Hello, hello. Welcome to the podcast Theatre of Joy. Today we are honored and so happy to bring to you Sukhmani Kohli. Sukhmani is a clown, a very, very playful clown, and she has somehow injected play into her life and the life of people around her and her family and her friends. In short, she's a very playful character. And she believes that play is the way to go, to teach, to learn, to perform, and to bring to people. And that's her clown. She has a lot of processes and games and activities in her Jola, which she has picked up along the way from all over the world. She is an interplay certified leader, internationally recognized, and she is a professional clown. She performs as a clown for audiences and other people and in storytelling. And she also gives a lot of workshops and clown trainings to in educational institutions and all over India and now on the internet. So I'm so excited about this conversation because there are many things that those of us who are doing theatre, making theatre, do not really know the possibilities. Now let's hear more about Sukhmani from her own mouth. Sukhmani,
Hi.
hi. How would you want to tell people about yourself? There's so many things rolled into one that I don't think I did full justice to what you do and what you be.
I think one thing that the core of everything that I do, I have I like to laugh and say "Bahut Paapar, bele," because having not been to college, I had a lot of time to try out everything. But in the end, right now, I think the core of what I want to do and want to create for people is a place where they feel and they can allow themselves to be truly who they are in that moment.
Wait,
And whatever that takes.
What did you say? You haven't been to college?
I haven't been to college.
What does that mean?
So after school, I was all ready to go to an art college. I wanted to learn how to paint and all, and I spent some months trying to get into colleges, taking courses and things like that would help me get into colleges. But I really didn't like the way they were teaching art. And I felt somehow in that age, I knew that art was too personal for someone to tell me. It was like a personal process. It was meditation for me, and I couldn't have someone tell me that, oh, this is wrong or this is right. So I decided not to go to college, and I instead I did kind of go to a place, but it was like this open, self-directed learning place in Kodaikanal. I spent 2 years there. And I decided what I wanted to learn, and the institute helped me find teachers to do that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then after those 2 years, I kind of traveled and went and met a lot of people and learned from them. So I found real life gurus who helped me with a lot of things. And I think facilitating that, I came to understand that I can, because I've been through that process of learning myself, I can create those spaces for the people, where they feel safe, where they feel like there's no pressure to perform, to be something else, to fit in. And so, yeah. So now with clowning, with interplay, with process facilitation, everything that I do, the idea is the idea is that um, can I create spaces where people can be free and can be themselves and don't have to fit in, and can be misfits and accept themselves for who they are.
Yeah, Glorious Misfits. I
Glorious
remember your
misfits.
that was
Yeah.
the title of one of your workshops.
Yeah, and that glorious misfits is something that I want to work on, like, like celebrating being misfits, celebrating.
Yeah, so what do you mean by Glorious Misfits?
So like everything there are, I feel. So I'm a clown, and becoming a clown is about, accepting all your idiosyncrasies, everything and whatever makes you, um, to accept that, to show up with that, and to celebrate that, and not wearing the masks that we wear in order to be accepted and fit in the society, in the world, how people around us want us to be.
Mm.
So when that all that comes off, that's what remains is your clown.
Okay, I
And
think I think for the sake of the viewers, we have to tell them a little bit about what a clown is, because in ordinary, ordinary reality, a clown is something people look down upon and say, "Oh, he's such a clown." So, what do you mean when you say what kind of a clown are you? What is your the practice that you follow? Please tell us a little more about that.
so like I said that, when you take off all those masks, the truest, most vulnerable part of me is my clown. And everyone has a clown inside, because everyone has that most vulnerable part. And the practice is, what I practice and what I've learned is of course inspired and learned, and informed from traditional practice of clowning, which most people recognize as like the clowns in circus, and jesters, and the old wise fool, and that's where, it this practice comes from and is informed from. And the practice is really just to kind of create lightness, create experiences through performances and workshops, and just kind of going out in the street wearing a clown nose, giving yourself the license and giving others around you then the license to just
Be.
to drop the barriers, to just be, to kind of just be present, to show up. As a performer, I do that for the audience and for myself. As a facilitator, again, it's about giving that license. The clown mask, the clown nose, is the smallest mask that unmasks.
Oh.
It gives you the license, right? So a lot of times, people who come to my workshops are not necessarily looking to become performers. Some of them are, but they're also looking to, find this side again that they might have, hidden somewhere behind all those masks, and to allow themselves to really be, and find lightness and play. And that's, and finding lightness does not mean that never being serious and not taking things seriously and like undermining other emotions. But lightness is not just about laughter. Lightness is about holding gently. It's about, it's sort of not, you know tightening your fists, but letting go, releasing. um, and if that happens through laughter, then laughter. If that happens through crying, so whatever. So clowning is not about only about laughter, it's about
But
feeling.
I love this, the smallest mask that unmasks. So you wear a nose, and what I'm getting
All the
is that you
masks come
have the
off.
license,
Yeah.
right? And you can actually be you and not be afraid of judgment
Yeah.
or anything.
Yeah, it gives you the license, and I've seen that. No, even for people who've never experienced a real life clown, or have only seen it in Mera Naam Joker at Raj Kapoor, or like in a circus somewhere, or at a birthday party. But even if they have that idea, if I wear a nose and I come near them, or like interact with them as me, as this unmasked me, they get it. And everything else, all these points of view and the references that they have of a clown, they drop away. because what they're seeing is an authentic being. And then that gives them the license also to be authentic. So they might just run away or not want to be around me, and that's fine also. That's what they need at that moment. That's fine.
So your workshops teach how to discover the clown within you.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Teach or create that
Yeah,
way,
create the space.
path, yeah, towards that.
Yeah.
Because also, one thing I've discovered is that I am not the same all the time. Who are you? In this moment I'll be someone else, the next moment I'll be something else. So but the idea is to be true to yourself in that moment, and that is whatever you're feeling. So in the workshops, the invitation is always to express everything, whatever happens to you. The first thing, even in the art of clowning, of performing clowning, we're taught that whatever happens to you, share that. The first people to know is the audience. So if you come and smile at me, I'll look at the audience and tell them how I feel about you smiling at me, and then maybe smile back. But I have to show everything that's happening to me, express whatever is happening to me. And that is giving the license, that is being present, that is discovering yourself in the moment, is the brackets that I
In
put.
ordinary life, we learn how to hide.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
the
and
ordinary life, it's not about expressing and it's not appropriate right now to do this, so I won't do it. So yeah, there are ways in which sometimes how I stop myself sometimes from expressing is because they won't be able to understand me.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest fear that I know I face, and a lot of people I've met face, that I'm not going to express myself because it won't be understood. But the clown again is about transcending that fear. It's about going beyond that fear, giving the other person the chance also. So not coming from a point of view, not coming from judgment. So it's not only about other people judging you, but it's also the judgments that you hold. So as a clown, you're also aware of that and also letting go of that, because only then can you express yourself. Otherwise, you will stop yourself.
Yeah. And how does that leak into your, let's say, real life?
Oh, it definitely does. I think, and that's what really attracted me to this art form. I always had theater, so I grew up with theater. I've been part of community theater workshops and performances, since I was very little. I didn't understand much then, but as I grew up, I understood more. But um, there was something in me that was pulling me away from it, because I was a very shy child, so I don't know if that maybe it intimidated me a bit. But clowning, when I first discovered it and I discovered myself through it, it it just, I could not do it. Like, I kept something. I After learning it, I didn't practice it. I was doing other things, but I kept coming back to it. And I think that just that license of being able to really show up, to let myself be, that kept bringing me back to it. And then it's very difficult in real life sometimes um, to let go of that need and expectation, from others. Why can't you be honest?
I know.
But it's not always possible, and that's also
I
okay.
know.
So
People have their own journeys.
and myself, sometimes I can't do it also, but that lightness of that reminder that it's okay, you know there are so many other ways of screwing up and getting into trouble and getting out of trouble, and that's fine. That's part of the game. Clowns love games, and finding games, and especially falling in trouble and coming out of them.
Coming out.
And then in the coming out, falling in trouble again. So creating trouble, and that's I think is so true to real life also. So I don't know what is real and what is not real anymore. The clown
I
is,
guess that everybody who
yeah,
does theater
because
is
being a clown is being real. And so for me, that is the reality
yeah.
actually, and this other reality is not really that real.
So you're right. even when we are doing process-based theatre or community theatre or theatre, it doesn't follow that we are being real, right? And there is a big gap, let's say, between where we need to be if we have to be real and where we are at various times.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about process-based work that you do.
So I also facilitate in non-performative spaces, spaces that are not about theatre and clowning. I facilitate, especially for young people, processes in big groups or small groups. Again, creating space for authenticity and being and realness.
Like, I mean, tell me more about that. How?
So there's something that I do called youth jams, youth jams. They're not really youth jams. I mean, like we're flexible with youth. So jams are, mostly week-long gatherings of people who are working in the social change sector, in whatever capacity,
In the
whatever
social
way.
change sector.
Yeah. So this, I'm mostly interested. The jams are mostly interested in activists because, as activists also. We spend so much time looking outside in the world of what's wrong in the world, and so much time is spent outside that we kind of forget about ourselves and what's happening inside. In my world, in my universe, in my personal relationship with myself, with my relationship with people around me, and how I am relating to the system around me. So the jam is a space to slow down and actually spend some time for myself, and reflecting on places I have to heal, places I have to grow, places I have to stretch, places I have to let go of within me.
In a safe space.
In a safe space and a community. So it's also about being in beloved community. And a lot of times, we talk about this ideal world. But in the ideal world, imagine if everyone's being real and authentic, it's bound to bring up conflicts.
Yeah.
And so this jam is kind of a simulation of that. You're being in community, you're being honest, and then obviously conflicts also come up, or celebrations come up, all kinds of things come up. And then there are tools to kind of also stay with that, sit with that, and create spaces of dialogue through that. So conflicts are not breakdowns but breakthroughs. So the jams and similar kind of spaces I professionally also create, which is mostly what brings money. But I'm hoping that clowning also does.
So yeah, I mean, this is a well-known thing that we learn through interaction, right? And but the spaces where we can experiment with being authentic in interactions are very few.
Very few, yeah.
The consequences
and
are
more
like
now. Yeah.
they're waiting for you around the corner.
And the reason why these interactions are important is because they open up space for different possibilities. So a beautiful thing about clowning, one of the beautiful things about everything that I'm involved in, that brings for me in my life, is multiple realities, is being okay that there is this possible, and at the same time this is also possible. So this idea that there's not just either or, this and that, black and white,
Good and bad.
good and bad, but like everything exists at the same time, just like time, in quantum physics
In a
they say,
multiverse,
yeah, exists at the time. There's no linearity. And so at the same time, people's experiences, their stories, their way of being, cultures, opinions, political stance, it's all there at the same time. And what these spaces that I usually find myself part of is about affirming that sitting with multiple realities, being okay with it, and embracing that, and then seeing where can we find our common ground, where can we stand together, where can we understand each other, where can we really let each other be. And so like your reality can be very different than my reality if both of us are being real and authentic. They we'll find that, oh, it's very romantic to say, hey, let's be honest. But then what happens when I completely disagree with what you say? But then I have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
And
No,
I
this
have
is
to
a
also in that find a common ground. in our
Yeah.
disagreement, find
No,
that
I mean,
space.
the world is so much clamped, and I mean, things, it's becoming difficult to move with polarities. We have
Yeah.
to look beyond polarities. We are not, nothing teaches us
Yeah.
in our bringing up, in our schools, in our educational institutions, when we go looking for a job, when we are counseled for being prepared for a job,
Yeah.
right? It's always polarity.
And our experiences in schools and institutions teaches us just that. It teaches us good and bad, that this is right and this is wrong.
Something is good, something is bad, and
Yeah.
you have to sit in judgment.
Yeah.
And judgment is good.
Yeah.
But the
So
work that you do,
yeah.
what you're saying, that it's okay for everything to coexist at the same time, and let's see how much fun we can have together. I
Yeah.
guess.
And there's push and pull, of course, because there are some things that you a lot of times it's in my conversations, some of us feel like, no, there is no way I can stand for this, like for something like an unjust thing happening in front of us. And what do you do in that moment? You obviously you do act, you do kind of, but that doesn't kind of, when something needs to be done, when an action needs to be taken, that's what the clown does. The clown kind of does act. Saying yes to things is not just becoming a doormat and letting people like walk over you just because you have to say yes. So in clown and in improvisation in theater, we say that the first rule of improvisation is saying yes. That does not mean that you get trampled, that you let go of what you want and just say yes. It's about that negotiation.
Also being in possibilities.
Yeah, and it's about being in that negotiation, that okay, why don't, yes, and I'll add something to this, and then let's see what comes out of it. So it's not just about being complacent, but acting also. There is that is also a reality. It's being, someone's being unjust in front of you, and in that moment you feel, but then the idea is not to criminalize, or I don't know, like not to go into that
Not
thing
be
of
the one to judge.
being righteous.
Yeah, I mean,
That just
once
because
you
I
say
think
yes
this
to
is
judgment,
wrong.
then all these things come up.
Yeah, so you can
Righteousness.
act, but without being righteous also, and without like
Yeah.
drawing a saying that no, this or that.
And so processes, activities from one of your modalities, whatever you practice, sort of go into another and into another. And what would you say? Uh, Look, I think we only, all of us only have uh, power, let's say, in our homes, the way we bring up our kids and the way we be with each other. We don't have any control in educational institutions and jobs and wherever else we play as human beings. What would you suggest to mothers and parents and families and people in close relationships like that? How should they play?
So being playful for me is, it's not just a co-curricular activity. Play for me is being. Play for me is an attitude. It's about this perspective in life. So when you're in play, you're being open to possibilities. You're being present. You're not going, because if I'm, for example, playing a sport or a game, if I'm in my head and I'm like, ye to aise daud raha hai, or what if I do this, what if I do this, if you're too much in your head, then you're checked out, and then someone will goal or someone will, so in when you're playing, and when you're in play, then you have to be present, which means that you can't be in your head too much. When I say in your head, I mean that the head has ways of kind um, of trapping you in thoughts, right? Because the thoughts come from older experiences, from pains, from the past, from baggage, from points of reference, from the limited experience that you have in your life. You don't know everything in life, right? Even if you've lived 100 years. So the mind has a way of trapping you in all of that. The body and the spirit, however, has its own wisdom. There's the wisdom of the mind, because there is, of course, a lot to learn from experience of life, right? And understanding. But there's also a wisdom in the body. And being at play is about getting in touch with that wisdom, with instinct, if you may call it, or with, this way of knowing. And for adults who have children around them, especially, or who are dealing with other things, other adults in relationships, bringing each other up.
I like that. Bringing each other up.
Yeah, that's what you do.
Yeah.
The invitation is to be also not just in your head, to be at play, to be open to each other, to
Open
be
for anything.
present.
Let's see what happens. Let's
Yeah.
try this.
Yeah.
What if we do this?
And to kind of get in touch with this body. And interplay, like something that I do, is also about being in the body, because creativity comes from spontaneity. Creativity comes from now.
Not from logic and reasoning.
I mean, of course it does. There's also some thing of that,
Not
but
only,
that
let's say,
logic
not
can
only
come
from logic and
हाँ,
reasoning.
but people tend to think that spontaneity does not have logic in it. I think it does. It's not about so being present in the moment is not about getting out of logic, but it's about also tapping into finding this balance between the mind, the body, and the spirit.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
tapping into all these three things, and when you're at play, that there are moments, magical moments, where that balance does happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd like to invite people to play more, and that's something that I find my calling more and more these days is how can I create more play
In everybody's life.
yeah, and as a way of being, and as a way of an
Yeah,
invitation.
play as a way of being.
Yeah.
Not just as an extracurricular activity, like you said.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
when
How
we're
can we-
cooking, we're playing. When you're walking in the park, we're playing. When you're talking, having a very serious conversation with someone.
And in
we're
this
playing.
world, in this life, we do have to handle hierarchies,
Yeah.
right? We can't wish them away, even if we are,
Yeah.
don't really,
And sometimes it's needed. Sometimes one does need a
Yeah,
leadership.
but play can help so much in a hierarchy.
Because play is
when you have
also
to get
about-
work done,
Yeah.
or when something needs to be.
What if we didn't take it so personally? Ki, yaar, I have to follow this person now. But what if we didn't take that seriously? It's also being playful is also about lightness. It's not about it's about being gentle with each other. So why what if you didn't take it so personally that person spoke badly to you? There's so many things happening to that person also. It's not always about you. So play teaches us all of those things of being gentle, taking things lightly. In interplay, we call this soft focus, easy focus actually. So being in easy focus is about I can be in hard focus and notice your eyes and how you're talking to me right now and how
And
you're
your lip
nodding
is
your head.
curled.
Yeah. And I can go focus more deeper into that. Just because I'm sitting here that you're doing all these things.
Yeah.
But in easy focus is about you're a whole person.
Yeah.
And there's so much that comes with you. And it's not just what's happening now. So easy focus.
As human beings, I mean, we like to have things sorted in a linear thing, A, B, C, D. This comes after this, and this is the way to do this, and this is the way to do that. And that's why maybe people are not very happy with unstructured spaces and play, because then they are left on their own, and they find it
Hard to think for themselves.
hard to think for themselves. It gives it hard to take responsibility.
Because I have been hurt so many times in my life when I've taken the decision for myself, because someone or the other would have an opinion about it.
Yeah.
And so we're not brought up with that openness, especially with school.
Yeah,
and
everything
things.
around us tells us to be careful,
And to
beware,
not listen to ourselves,
not listen to us.
to not trust in the wisdom that I have. Even in the pandemic, everything and everyone and everything around me was telling me how my body
How
should
you
be,
should
what
be.
I should be eating, and all of this when it first happened.
And that's the way people sell you things.
Yeah, and so the idea was, so a friend of mine and I, we did for half an hour every day. We decided, hey, this is getting too much. Like I don't even know how to connect with my body anymore because there's so much fear in me right now, and it was something to be fearful of. But it was just like there was too much information coming, and I needed to exform that information a little bit. And so this other friend of mine, Vibhuti, and both of us are interplay leaders, and we started meeting for half an hour every day on Zoom to play, to practice interplay, which is a playful practice. And then more and more, we started inviting more people, and every day for half an hour, we would just come together and play, and that was so anchoring
Oh my God.
for us.
I feel that this is an entirely, I mean, not entirely, but this is a different form of your work.
Yeah.
And the wisdom you must have gained through it,
Yeah.
wisdom for how to live, which is different from just process-based theater
Especially,
or work with
yeah.
young people.
Especially in these days when there's so much uncertainty, abhi pandemic tha, now the weather's going all haywire, so like there's uncertainty in everything now.
Everything.
So there, I need a practice to be able to anchor myself, to know, or to not know, or to be okay with not knowing, to be okay with uncertainty, and to have
I
the
have
tools
so
to deal
much to
with that.
talk to you, and we should, in the next time we sit and talk together,
Yeah.
we should talk about things beyond this. I mean, I'm so curious about uh, uh, how much wisdom you have sort of incarcerated and brought into your wise body, which is getting wiser every day, and how exactly that works. Now we're out of time, and so, but another time,
Yes.
another time we have to talk about all this.
Yeah.
There is so much you do that it can't be covered in one session. Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm sure you opened um, a lot of pathways for a lot of people who are listening.
I hope so too.
Thank you.
And for
Thank you,
myself.
Sukhmani. Yeah.